Welcome to another episode of Community Update. Today, we focus on the recent protests in Nigeria, West Africa. And joining us are two members of the Nova Scotian Nigerian community who will share their perspectives on the situation and its impact on Nigerians both at home and abroad. Babs Shogbamu, also known as Papa Yankee, was a former president of the Association of Nigerians in Nova Scotia, and Oluwaseun Ayebiwo, popularly known as Olu Aye, a former nominee of the same office. Now, gentlemen, thank you for coming to the show within such a short notice.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
I know you're both very busy people, but I'm happy that you made it here. We can't pretend, as you well know, what's going on back home in Nigeria, and the images we see on social media, mainstream media, are quite disturbing. What are you guys basically hearing? You might want to go first, Papa Yankee.
Yeah, thanks for that. What we hear is the typical expression of despair, of destruction, of looting, of peaceful protests. So it depends on what channel in the news that you happen to favor to listen to. So there is all manners of various activities happening currently in the Nigerian state. Both from the north, south, east, west, everything seems to be imbalanced. There is a lot of looting, there is a lot of destruction, and also earlier in the day, we got to know that it started very peacefully, but just as we know, like a recurring decimal, it's always been towards the evening, the hoodlums will take advantage of the cover of the night coming in to perpetrate what we call arson in many cases, different from the intentions of the original protest that was started earlier in the day.
Oloye, are you hearing anything different from what Babs is hearing from Nigeria or from within the community here in Nova Scotia?
It's basically the same thing. You see pictures of, protesters. It started to be peaceful initially, and before we knew it, we started seeing all sorts.
It's really not an interesting situation, because in such situations you end up with the innocent people who would eventually suffer, right? And we will find protest, counter-protest, and protests that are countering protests, and a whole lot of confusion within the system. What is the demand, really? What are they saying? What are they asking the government to do in this instance?
Yeah, so I know that they're asking for a reduced cost of governance. Okay. They're asking for improved security. They're asking for good wages, right? They want to be able to earn wages and be able to live on it.
But recently, sorry to cut you, recently the government actually signed a bill to 70,000 naira minimum wage. Don't you think that is supposed to be sufficient for people?
I'm not quite sure. I think they asked for more than that amount.
But they have agreed 70,000.
Yeah, but at some point they agreed to cut it down to 70,000. Okay. So they're asking for improved security as well.
Right.
So those are the demands, and I don't think it's too much. But, if you also look at some of the things they're asking for, the government is actually looking into all those things.
Right.
For instance, the minimum wage that I mentioned earlier. Yeah. They're trying to address it. I think if you look at the whole response that they have gotten from the government recently, I would say they're probably more responsive than, I remember we used to have a president who had ear infection. They used to hear anything. So he won't even acknowledge you in the first place, right? So that's an improvement, right? So, but it is what it is. The people are hungry. They're angry.
Absolutely.
They're upset.
You made a very, very, very excellent point there, that this government seems to be responsive. I mean, the government of Ahmed Tinubu. And I'll come to you, Babs. You've been at a level where you literally let people within the Nova Scotian community, it's difficult to actually fix everything overnight. And we feel these guys are still too young in the office, just a year. Do you think these people who are protesting, and indeed Nigerians, have been fair to this government of Ahmed Tinubu?
Yeah, I would approach my response this way. According to Maslow's hierarchy of need, food, clothes, and shelter is part and parcel of what everybody requires to stay alive.
All right.
Many Nigerians are not alive today, even though you see their physical being. Someone that is so hungry will naturally be hungry. Now, even if you feed the individual once, he still gets hungry in the next few hours.
Right.
So you see a situation whereby they know that the government is responsible, but the hunger is so much deep into the soul, to the extent that even if the individual does not want to react, the hunger in him forces him to say, I have heard you, but I need this. Because he's thinking of the next meal, and the next meal, and the next meal. So either party is wrong, either party is right. But we should remember that the problem of Nigeria did not start yesterday.
Absolutely, my
So
point.
it's a systemic problem.
Yeah.
And it's going to require a systemic approach, consistent approach.
So that's why I'm coming to you specifically to ask.
So,
these people have only been there for just about a year and a couple months. So do you think they've had enough time to settle down, understand the problem within the Nigerian economy, and see how they can put things? Because like he said, these people are responding. They sent out some food from what we are seeing allegedly. They've given out rice, they've reduced prices, they're having a lot of palliatives all over the place. But do you think they've given them enough time to figure things out?
Okay, I will still let you know that it's not about the time.
Right.
It's about the system that they are putting in place. If you are putting a system that will survive itself, it doesn't matter how people react. You are sure that that system is going to outlive you, and it's going to be good on the long run. And you are very, very focused in your delivery.
Right.
I'll give an example of the structure we have in Nova Scotia today. When you said I've been at the helms of affairs, we had people that were not corrupt, they were not into vices, they were not into all the negatives that a society could be unproud of.
Yeah.
So I only got into that system to meet people like Oluwaseun, yourself, and so many other people doing the right things. So the mindset in the community was good enough for somebody to continue from there.
Okay.
Right now in Nigeria, it's not the same. So we do not expect the same thing in a logical, progressing community to exist in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So, for example, the government said during their campaign that they are going to hit the ground running.
Hit the ground
they
running.
were actually
Yeah.
true to that word.
Okay.
But they do not know how deep the issues were.
Okay.
So they started by removing the subsidy.
Subsidy, yeah.
Good. Against the IMF and all those other, just to normalize everything. But you needed to understand that there's something called social impact assessment.
Right.
You need to know what impact will this your solution have on the people, such that you would have started the solution before the solution towards the people, because the SIA would have identified what you need to do before you actually start your implementation.
I get your point, and I didn't mean to cut you. Let me come to you, Oluwaye. We've seen protests in Nigeria several times, spiral from a peaceful one to a bloody one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to use the word, but that's what seems to be the issue here in Nigeria, especially when it has to do with protests. What do you think will be the possible end of this protest that they've started today, if it is not properly handled?
Yeah, so the way I think is a little bit different from how most people would think.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, if I was the president
right
now and the protest is going on, I'll try as much as possible to address the nation. That's to start with.
Yeah, but he's been doing that on Twitter.
That's the first thing.
On X.
Well, it's the
You
Twitter
think that's
is
not enough?
different from coming live on TV
Yeah.
to speak.
Speak to the people.
Right? That's different.
Yeah.
I would do that. And I'm going to summon the governors.
Yeah.
Because they are the chief security officers of their states.
Okay.
And I'll probably just read the riot acts to the governors. The governors should be able to manage their states, regardless of what the situation is. So, and in cases where there are vandalisms everywhere, I'll probably just evaluate what the cost is, probably take it out from the security votes.
No, but this is an ongoing thing, Oluwaye.
Yeah.
And people are destroying right now. Just day one, some government establishments have been vandalized, destroyed, and some people, whether you like it or not, have been injured. If care is not taken, how far do you think this can go? Remember, they have 9 more days to go on this.
Yeah,
and we can see what happened in Kenya
really
and what is happening in some other part of the world. So how do you think government needs to act right now?
It can get really, really bad. Like I said earlier, that first address by the president should help a lot.
But they have a long list of what they want the government to do.
But
is it realistic,
the government cannot do everything in one day.
I agree.
Or even in 10 days.
Yeah, but at least they can start doing something.
But they can come up with a plan.
Yeah.
Right.
And what are those plans, you think?
Probably just move all those demands into actions and show the whole country how they are going to move them from point A to point B towards achieving everything that they're demanding. Let's not get things wrong. Yeah. They cannot possibly meet all the demands.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's also look at the sincerity of the people who are protesting, for instance. You're protesting against bad governance. Yeah. Right. But in your own little space, what have you done?
You're doing right. Yeah.
Right? How are you a good ambassador of Nigeria in your space?
Yeah.
So it's all
connected in a way.
Connected in one way or the other. So if I'm not doing the right thing in my little space, in my area of influence,
you shouldn't question what government is doing.
I'm expecting the government to do right by me. It's
a lot of people will argue that to say, well, I'm doing my own bit. I'm doing right. I'm paying tax. I'm going to work. I'm doing what I should do. But government is failing and showing us how they squander money in the streets. So, but you think religion does not have hands in this thing? Do you think ethnicity does not have hands in this thing? Because we believe that if everyone was coming out in one saying the same thing in one voice, they probably would have done it better and the impact would be better felt. What do you think is playing out there? Is it politics? Is it religion? Is it ethnicity?
It's known that if any discussion you're having with people and is devoid of politics, it's devoid of religion, and it's also devoid of ethnicity, you're going to come out of that discussion a better person. But by the time you have a shade of any of these 3 areas, in Nova Scotia, we try to shy away from there. And that's why you see the growth you see in us. And we try to let people know that we're only here for ourselves, by ourselves, with ourselves. No politics, no religion, no ethnicity. And we've been playing it to fact. So, but Nigeria is so deeply rooted into those 3 in such a way that where people are supposed to condemn some character shades, we'll rather let it go either, it's in my political party, or it's in my religious sect, or it's also from my area of ethnicity. So we need a reorientation. The government really needs to, part of the solution is really come out and start doing things right.
But you see, I think a lot of people are complaining about the body language of these politicians, the leaders. Very recently, and I quote, the deputy Senate president made a statement loosely, meaning that people want to go on the street, let them just go ahead. They're going to be sitting back to have some meals, something of that nature. Do you think these statements are good enough when you want to calm people who already are frustrated in Nigeria?
Yeah, it actually shows how insensitive the individual on that seat, not the Senate presidency position. The individuals are not trained for some positions they occupy today. In many of those offices, there are smarter people, there are better people, but they've made the polity to be so insecure that people of good intention can't really come out because of their safety, because it becomes so dirty. So that was careless, and that was an act of irresponsibility on such a very sensitive
matter,
time,
right? Yeah.
In a national situation where everybody should be mourning the loss of the good times.
Yeah.
And everybody should be sympathetic to the needs of the people.
Yeah.
Food, clothes, and shelter is what basically Nigerians are asking for.
Yeah.
If you give an average person, just as we have in Canada today, if you give them an opportunity of the good clothing, shelter, and food, enough supply of food, takes from the super rich, the elite, and give to the lower people, so that you have more of the disappearance of even the middle class and the lower class, merge them together. You are not going to have such protests. That's why we don't have protests like that here. So the physiological needs of the people, that's indirectly what they're asking for. When they ask about subsidy removal, they are saying the cost of the gas is so much nowadays that by the time you take a product from point A to B or service from point A to B, everything skyrockets. It's a domino effect.
Absolutely.
Every single thing the average Nigerian now is asking for is make my life worth living. I don't want to be rich. I don't want to be super affluent. I just want to be happy.
And of course, I think it's a right.
And you still see that an average Nigerian, and that's one of those things that makes us great. We kind of bring out fun, humor out of even a very bad situation. That's to tell you that just give us a little bit of what makes us to be alive. And then you see us triumphing.
But I think maybe that's the reason why the politicians don't take them seriously, because they probably say, okay, you know what, it is that this or nothing. No, don't give us small, give us everything that we need. I will come to you. Nigeria, sorry, before you say, the demographics in Nigeria, the youth make up over 60% of that population. Vibrant. People who should be productive, who should be turning the economy around, spinning things around in different aspects. But you find most of those guys on social media. And we've seen the influence of social media these days on the Nigeria economy, on the people themselves. What do you make out of this? Do you think Nigeria is on the right path?
Yeah, so with the youths, as much as the population of the youth, I know back in Nigeria, I would be a youth, but in Canada, I don't belong. I don't belong to that category. So look at the youths in Nigeria. They are heavily divided along tribal, ethnic, religious
sentiments.
And with that magnitude of division, there's nothing can be done.
Nothing, right? But do you also think that there might be some external influence to what is going on there? Because some people feel like maybe there's a little bit of control from the West or some part of the world on the government. Because you see the African leaders, they are always going back to IMF. They're always going back to World Bank and asking for things and all that. And nobody from that section will come back to tell them, look, I don't know how you spent the last one, so probably not going to give you again. Do you think there is some degree of influence, external influence to what's going on there?
Yeah, so with regards to external influences on the protests or even the economy.
There are different ways they can, if they can cripple the economy, people can react to, but do you think there might be the possibility?
I don't have much knowledge about that, but I'm not ruling that out. If Nigeria was doing so well and everything stable, security, do you think you would be here?
Of course I won't be here.
So
I agree with you on that one.
So I get it. Like some countries get to benefit from the instability happening, there. But I probably won't be able to link their involvement to to the whole situation, right? They might just be benefiting from it with no how do I put it, no visible input, right? So I really don't know how that works, but
so you are a good follower of Sowore, who happened to be one of the candidates for last elections, and he failed so woefully to make it. But today we find him on social media pushing people to go for the protest. Do you think it's the right thing to do at this point in time? And I know you guys also know about Peter Obi, who is also the leader of the Labour Party. Shouldn't these people be calling people out of the streets, not to the street?
Well, I think their wisdom is towards agitation, both of them.
But do you think Nigeria deserves an agitation at this point in time?
Well,
because we're having enough in the east.
In a situation where, it looks like people are not being listened to, and they feel the government should listen to me, but they're not listening. What do you do?
But I said to you
what's going on
earlier, and I said, you don't cut off the head because you have a headache.
But I did correct you earlier. Sometimes you cut the head.
But when you cut it, the entire body suffers.
Hold on. But until you are able to satisfy every other prior conditions before you cut the head.
Okay.
And those conditions might be very difficult for you to meet up before you cut the head. I give you an example of Singapore, where some people sat and they said enough is enough, no more corruption.
Yeah.
And they want Singapore, a previous colony of Indonesia and co, to become a name to be reckoned with. Yeah. They figured out the next 20, 30 years, and they started implementing. And one of those martial law they put in place, if you are found corrupt, you are dead. It's either you go or you stay and face the music. Those that stayed, they met the death conditions and they were killed. In order to send a signal to the people. See, there is no rule of law in Nigeria. There is no serious security edifice in place for common people to be protected. There is no much of social justice. You can't expect in such an economy for us to be progressing further. The government has so much role to play in this because nobody, no organization, even the protesters, they are not as powerful as the government of the day because a lot of power has been concentrated in the federal government.
Yeah.
So what we wish is for the government of the day to do the right thing, for the prosperity to judge them right. The previous presidents, they are probably very, very sad as we speak. In the social media space, we think they are happy. No. Because they are no longer being celebrated. Nobody refers to them as people of, just like when we had the likes of Jack Conde, that we still make references to that, when he was alive, this is what he was able to, people need to move away from their psychological needs, even as elite, and go to their self-esteem as well as self-actualization that, what do I stand to leave this world behind better than I met it?
Absolutely.
How can the former minister of petroleum be caught with so much of those looting, several billions of dollars, it's stolen away from the commonwealth of everybody? You don't even need it. It's a waste. You are using such wealth to promote other people's economy. So for me, it's just for the government to make a decision. They probably are being pushed by the social media, the current protest. Because if we say this protest is not going to be successful, it's a lie. It's actually invoking,
I think it's organic here. Because people actually,
it's evoking more response. And my wish is that those in the government will continue to listen to the tempo of the people and start providing their physiological needs. There is no community, there is no organization that can survive if the physiological needs of the people that make it up are not being satisfied. Canada did something for us during COVID. They pump in so much wealth into the policy.
But they came back and took it from the back door.
That is the right thing we expect the government to do, because you don't see riots, you don't see protests. Because you recognize the fact that when the nerves were down, they come and they ask people to support if you have, and everybody share. Even landlords were asked to suspend you still pay, but during that very bad period, everybody was being taken care of. We need a government that is sincere.
Absolutely.
Not the government of every 4-year election. See, there are so many things that are systematically wrong. 4 years is too short for any government to understand what is there. Especially when there is no transition. We already know who probably the new government is going to be even before the election.
I know.
Because we started seeing some positioning, some discussion, some argument. Well, we are already, the polity is already feeling who we are going to vote for in terms of the government of today. in this community where we are. They already show you a master plan of what they are going to do in the next 5 years.
Absolutely. Next 10 years. Absolutely.
The government currently is implementing what was planned by the previous government.
Continuity.
That continuity has been there.
Yes.
So we back home needs to sit down and think.
Yes.
What more can we do differently in a better way?
Yes.
And all these plutonic tendencies have to stop. We don't need all those wastages.
You have to tone it down. You guys are very knowledgeable people here. Not only are you members of the community, but there are a lot of people who look up to you. Now, a lot of support goes from overseas back to the people back in Nigeria there.
Yeah.
And I believe the same way you support life there, you also have the ability to speak to your loved ones. What would be your message to the immediate community in Nova Scotia as far as the situation? Should they continue to feel it or call their people for restraint? What exactly would be your message to these different groups?
Yeah, I'll start on this lighter note. So I saw something on Instagram today, and the person said, if your parents have not called you now to sit back at home and not go and protest, that means you were adopted. So...
But some don't even have parents.
Right. So, but to look at the whole thing happening, I think people should be very sensible in what they're doing and how they go about their protests. There are different ways to, register your grievances with the government without being destructive. Right?
That's right.
So, I don't think there's anything that would validate destroying government properties or private properties, because some people went as far as looting from private individuals, which is really, really bad.
Yeah, that's...
I would like to let people know that regardless of what it is, let's try as much as possible to be patriotic,
right?
Even in our criticism.
Yes,
and let's have a balanced view of things, and just contribute constructively and not be destructive. That's what I'll say.
I know you are one of the administrators of one very big group here, WhatsApp group, and
by accident, yes,
maybe by design too. But I believe with time, this conversation is going to come to that platform if it hasn't already. How do you want people to discuss this issue without going completely out of what is happening and then going into, someone from the other divide and all that stuff? What will you be saying to them? Because that is also very key. Yeah,
we try to kind of regulate anything that has to do with Nigeria, raises people's blood pressure.
That's right.
And it's easy for it to bring about bad blood. And we don't want that, because the reason we're together on that group is because we actually want to support one another.
Each other,
right? It's a networking place. It's a public space, where people are supposed to ensure that, they are mindful of their public conduct. So we don't have any issues with that. People are very, very respectful.
Absolutely.
That I can say.
That's a good one for such group. And of course, they're in Canada. They should be civil. Yes. So you also have been a leader within the community. A lot of people respect your statement. The kind of thing you say to them at this point, what would that be?
Okay, what I'm going to tell them, if anybody do ask me, is to tell them that protest is everybody's right, but it has to be done the right way. Speak the right language and pass the message to the right medium, to the right set of people that can impact based on what you're actually passing on to them. And for me, constructive discussion is always a better way. I've never subjected myself to violence. It's not really the way I'm made up. And so that makes it easier for me to always campaign on the path of peace. And when people listen to each other, it makes life better. So for me, we need to use this medium, we need to use this medium to pass the message to people that if you have people in areas of command people where they can influence things back home, try and reach out to them. Like I have a cousin that is going for the position of the chairman in one of the local government. Politics is local.
Yeah.
And for me, we need to reach out back, like the people that are protesting. It would have been better that most of the protests start to come together within the local communities. We have chairmen.
But they give them designated areas.
No, I'm going to say something before I forget that line of thought. We have 3 arms of the government. We have the judiciary, we have the legislature, and then we have the executive, which seems to be concentrating more on the executives. Whereas the judiciary
also
and
contribute to the situation.
They all contribute to the situation.
And they need to be held accountable.
And they also need to be held accountable. So my wish would be that any opportunity each and every one of us have back home, let's get our people to talk to those that are closer to them and encourage those people to also speak up. Now, in recent time, the local government autonomy was signed into law. Right? And those are the kind of things we need to understand. What does that mean? What power does it give to the people? So that the people can harness that power and use it to demand for whatever. Like, for example, not many people even know their local government chairman. Even if they know he's always in Abuja. Some want him to come back to that community or you impeach him. And by the time you start speaking to those that are closer to you, he will put the local government leadership will cascade it up and then nobody talks about the governors. They always talk about the president. See, there is a different structure in place if you want to achieve much, you have to grow it from the...
But the buck stops on the table of the president.
I told you that is not true. I've mentioned
How is that not true?
No, hold on. In absolute term, yes, but in reality, it's not. There are legislatures and there are judiciary that he had to contend with. He can martial law, he can summon the governors and say this and this and this, but the governors can still use the loopholes, the lacunas we have in the legal system to take possession that would defeat the presidency. So we need to make sure that we see the way it is, even though the box stops on its decks, but it cannot enforce a lot of things because it's being held by the judiciary and the legislature. And it cannot come out because they'll say, okay, impeach him. So he's also sensitive to the way he plays the game. But my wish is that the current presidency in place this period continue to do what they've started, which is encourage people to speak and as well as encourage the meeting the needs of the people, pushing more into giving us 40,000 naira bag of rice. It's not really, it's going to quench this immediate hunger. But what of the one that's going to come in the night? So we need to quickly support it with a system that maybe have some control centers where we'll be buying that bag of rice. And then we will be buying and be, start building up a structure in place that once you buy this period, it's other people that will buy next period, something that makes life easier.
I agree with you.
Like
something
the food bank we have in Canada, if you go to anyone in 1 month, you can't go to another one.
I agree with you.
It's connected. So,
Oluwaseun, your final thoughts. Are there plans to go to downtown this time around like it happened during NSARS?
I'm not aware.
Are you hearing anything like that?
I'm not aware of
So what will be your
yet.
final thought?
I would say people should take things easy and be reasonable with their actions.
Absolutely. Yeah, because there are consequences too.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And
for me, is to sympathize with our people back home in Nigeria. The situation is really grave. We can feel their impact.
Absolutely.
With just a single dollar, it's about 1,205 naira today. That is a big lot against the people. But having said that, it's for us to cut our expenses as much as reasonably possible, try and differentiate between our wants and our needs. And all this show of affluence, even though it's traditionally our nature, should naturally be cut in good faith. And then the structure...
But how do you tell a Nigerian that? Because Oluwaseun has multiples of agbada. He has multiples of designer shoes and wristwatches. I can speak for him, true or false.
But
so how do you tell him to cut it down? It's a way of life for Nigerians.
We could have come with the same agbada and all those stuff to Canada, but why are we not wearing them? Because we met a system in place that is simple. It's very simple and it does not emphasize on some certain things that show some affluence. And we've seen the richest man in the world. He doesn't put on all the gold and bangles and everything to put all over the whole place.
Absolutely.
Because esteem comes in, really.
Absolutely.
I believe those that try to show up have low esteem. Anyway, I'm sorry to say that. But more importantly, my final word to people is we sympathize with you and we wish you very best, and anything you want us to do, we are listening, and we will do the little bit that we can do. Apart from sending money home, we do talk to people. Encourage them, give them a better vision, let them see the better light of better side of life. And hopefully the government will sit up and we will start contributing technologically and other resource-wise back home, because an average Nigerian is not happy when Nigeria is not happy.
Absolutely. What a wonderful place to leave it. You agree with me that some of the things we've seen here in the West has informed the way you think right now and the way you would approach this situation. That's why I feel it was important to come on the show and talk to our people, both abroad and here. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming and sharing your thoughts on what's going on in Nigeria.
Thanks for having us too, and we wish everybody the best of luck in coming days.
Absolutely. All right, that was Babs Shogbamu, former president of the Association of Nigerians in Nova Scotia. And Oluwaseun was also here, a prominent member of that association. They have been talking to us about the ongoing protests in Nigeria. I am Promise Okoy, and I will see you soon.